What I find amusing about all this is how he skipped the job market, the economy, politics. He skipped inflation, he skipped interest rates, and jumped directly to Somalis, Nigerians, foreigners, and specifically went to Black Americans. It's quite amazing. Hi, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to do a reaction video. And the reason I'm doing a reaction video is because I've come across a lot of content online regarding the influx, if one can call it an influx, of Black Americans into Kenya, into Nairobi. As many of you may know, there are Americans who are coming into Nairobi, Black Americans specifically, and documenting their journey on YouTube. And I think this is why there's been a target on it, let me say. But initially, when I came across them, I didn't make any. It wasn't a big deal to me because people have been migrating to Kenya and settling in Kenya for so long. We have been a settler colony for quite some time now, if you think back. But then, not to say that we should continue being a settler colony in the aspects of colonization, but what I'm saying is that we have also welcomed people for a very long time. I worked in real estate for 5 years, and during that time, we had foreigners from all over the world coming in and purchasing property, renting property in Nairobi. And during that period, we, of course, welcomed them into the country because that is part of our job. But with the influx of Black Americans into the country, it's a different conversation that we seem to be having. I came across a YouTube video about it, and I just thought I'd react to some of the things he was saying. I'll clip maybe the whole video or parts of the video into my video because I don't want it to be a very long video, but I'm just going to highlight some of the things he said, and because what he spoke on, it also was highlighted in some of the tweets that I've seen, in some of the articles that I've seen, and I think it's important that we talk about it.
There's something you have observed or not observed in Nairobi. Soon, Kenyans may not afford rent. They may not afford to buy land or house in Nairobi. It will be very, very difficult. And as you know, the salary of most Kenyans is at most 100,000. People who are earning more than 100,000 shillings are less than 100,000 people. Very few people. At most 1% of the population which is employed. Now, this one problem that you have not seen. We have an influx of Black Americans. Most of them are those ones who are going to retire. And as you know, they have saved enough, they have accumulated enough, and they're coming to settle in Kenya. We also have a population of Somalis who are coming to Nairobi. Others are building houses, others are renting, others are leasing. We also have Sudanese, rich. No, those Sudanese who come to settle in Kenya are from the rich backgrounds. So they come, they marry women from Kenya so they can buy land or property. We have Nigerians and many other people from other countries. Now let us focus on Black Americans. You know, before 2020, we did not have influx of Black Americans. So few of them came and discovered that Kenya is the best country to live in. Now some of them have bought land, some of them have bought houses, and they're enjoying life. And the good thing is that if someone is given pension, 300,000 every month, if they're renting a house for 120,000 in Nairobi, is cheap for him or her, so they can just live comfortably. Now with this, they are affecting local people, Kenyans. Right now, if you go to Kilimani, if you go to Kilelesho, it's very hard to get a house as a Kenyan cheaply. They're the people who have made houses rent to go high, to go to rise. You find a 1-bedroom house going for 130,000, 150,000. Someone coming from USA will easily rent this house. And those are the two estates, Kileleshwa and Kilimani. Those are the two estates where they like most. Nowadays, they are even investing in Ruiru, those satellite towns, even Thika. Now,
Based on what he said, the first thing I'd like to highlight is that Kileleshwa and Kilimani have never been cheap areas to live in. Never. As I said, I've worked in the real estate industry, and that was about, 5 years ago that I worked there. And those properties and those areas were already expensive to rent in. They were already higher priced for the average Kenyan. So him speaking about that African Americans and Black Americans are coming to Kenya and they're going to focus on this particular area of Nairobi and they're going to rent out all available properties is extremely untrue. Those particular areas have been rented out by many people for a long period of time, and they're upper middle class Kenyans, and he's saying they will soon be priced out and the rents will increase. But that's the nature of things. That is the nature of real estate anywhere you go in the world.
satellite towns, even Thika. Now, as they continue coming, it will reach a time you are going to pay 200,000 shillings for 1-bedroom house. And there's no way you can stop them because they have money. Most of them are even working remotely, being paid $10,000 per month. Now they can afford even 250,000 rent. That is the tragedy. And as Kenyans, you have to think, you have to know how to contain this, because since they are coming in numbers, there will be demand for such houses. And obvious, since they have money and they can pay even 1 year once, landlords and agents will prefer them over Kenyans. And the only thing you can do as a Kenyan is to move to estates where the demand for houses from Black Americans is not high. So it means you'll go to Pipeline. If you want to rent a house of 50,000, go to South C, South B. And I'm very sure later, once those people discover those estates, South C, South B, Nairobi West, even Kasarani, even Parklands, once they discover those estates, now they will move from Kileleshwa, Kilimani and go to rent those estates, meaning that the rent will go up. This was another case which I've seen. Right now, real estate companies are in USA. They are online advertising, marketing their property. And those Black Americans are buying in large numbers for those property. You find a property which was going for 12 million shillings. Right now it's going for 25 million shillings because the demand is from Black Americans. And there's no way a Kenyan will compete with them because our salary is very low. And as you know, Kenyans who can afford houses for 25 million prefer to go and settle elsewhere or in satellite towns where it's not crowded. So it is very difficult for Kenyans. And as you know, in Kenya, we accept anyone. And it's now that information is reaching those people that Kenya is a good country.
He then goes on to speak and say that 1-bedrooms in these areas are going to go up to 200,000, possibly, I do not know. But the reason that developers target certain areas is because they see an interest in those areas, and it is basically supply and demand. They would not build the properties in such a way if there was no demand for them. And as I said, Black Americans have only recently been coming to Kenya. And these developers had been building these properties prior. So who are they building for? Because it wasn't Black Americans. They had no knowledge that there would be Black Americans coming to settle in Kenya or who had an interest in Kenya. That means there were other people who were interested in these properties. And the lack of housing should not be placed on Black Americans' shoulders. This is a government issue. This is a government issue that needs to be dealt with and handled by the government, because they have been sleeping on it for a very, very long time. The lack of housing, lack of affordable housing, is something that is a great strain on this city and country. So I think it's quite disingenuous for him to come and say some of the things he's saying. If anything, I would say it's quite dangerous, and we should all be careful how we speak and what issues we raise. They could be genuine issues, but it's important how we word things and how we manipulate people's sentiments and emotions while we're talking about certain things. And I believe one of the many things is housing, of course, in Nairobi, and the targeting of Black Americans when it comes to housing. Come to think of it, I don't even know how many Black Americans are in this city, but I doubt that the number that have recently moved to the city or are interested in moving to the city will affect the 5 million Nairobians who are here. I really doubt that. He then proceeds to talk about remote working. If I were him, I would... Oh, okay, let me reword that. I would say that there are many Kenyans also carrying out remote work. There are many Kenyans who are utilizing technology and the digital changes that have come into being in the world to create opportunity for themselves. Now, he's maligning remote working, but they are not. It's not only Black Americans who are remotely working. There are people from all over the world who are doing this. Europeans, Asians, Kenyans. It's a way to bring income into the country. He also highlighted that real estate companies are going abroad and marketing to Black Americans to purchase property, and so they'll be the only ones being able to afford these properties. But let's be real here. The interest rates in this country are astronomical. Getting a mortgage in this country is almost impossible. When real estate companies choose to go to the US and market their products, it's because they also have the understanding that there's a Kenyan diaspora in the areas that they go to who have managed to build a life for themselves and may be interested in reinvesting back home, either for retirement. And that's who they're trying to sell to. If Black Americans manage to get to hear about these real estate shows that are coming, selling Kenyan properties, and gain an interest in Kenya, yeah, why not? But the large majority of people who are marketed to by real estate companies are the ones who left Kenya, and they left Kenya to go abroad to make money for themselves and their families. Incidentally, I find it quite peculiar that he would target Black Americans moving for a better life when we know that Kenyans move for a better life, and so many Kenyans are targeting to move to America to get a better life. And I'm highlighting America because that's where everybody's mind seems to lean to when they're looking to go abroad. And when we talk about remittances, foreign currency remittances was once, or is almost always, a top 5 economic earner in this country. Can you imagine what would happen if this same energy that we're giving the Black Americans for coming to Kenya to just settle and enjoy a peaceful life amongst Kenyans, which we have been known to give to other people, decided that, you know what, let's lobby and have limit the amount of Africans who are coming to Kenya to search for financial resources for their families. Can you imagine if that happened? Because it's similar to what this man is talking about in his video. So many Kenyan families, mine included, have been uplifted because America was able to accept Kenyans into their country, and through that acceptance, they were able to bring remittances back into this country, and that money is what has been used to educate, build, and support families for decades.
So what do you expect in the next 5 years? Is that Kenya will be overcrowded by citizens of several countries who have money, and Kenyans themselves will be moved to slums. They'll be forced to go to live in slums and low-income estates because they don't have money to pay those high rent. That high rent that is charged by those traditional estates which used to be for rich Kenyans or upper middle class Kenyans. And you know what to expect. So the only thing that can save Kenyans at this point is to go and develop in your village, or you buy land in satellite towns far from Nairobi CBD. That's where the demand from those Americans is not high. That is the only thing that can save you. But what I'm saying is that the rent will go up and Kenyans will not afford the rent. And also, if you're not careful, you'll start now the conflicts, the obvious ones, because you'll see that those people are the obstacles. Now that's what's happening. And if you go online and watch videos, you see Black Americans who arrived in Kenya 2-3 years ago are encouraging others to come. And those ones in America at the moment, especially those aged 6 and above, they want to go and settle elsewhere because of weather, because of social life, something like that. And since they are assured of monthly income, they will not have any problem to settle in Kenya. And in Africa, Kenya has emerged as the best for foreigners. So that is what we expect now and in the near future. And as a Kenyan, you go, if you have money, go to satellite towns, buy land as soon as possible. Because in the future, even real estate companies will buy those plots, develop and sell houses to those Black Americans.
And lastly, he says that Kenyans will be forced to live in slums and slum-like areas, and they'll be pushed out by Black Americans. And again, I have to ask, how many Black Americans are in this country that they are going to occupy all these newly built apartment blocks and houses and so much residential properties that are being built at the moment? This video, I think it rubbed me the wrong way, because I'd read the tweets, I'd read the articles, but I think we need to get off our high horses for a little bit and understand that we're in a global society. And as I said, many foreigners have been coming to live in Kenya. I know that as a fact. We sold property to them, and that's a fact. Just because they didn't document their journey doesn't mean they're not here. In fact, they're probably so much more white Americans than there are Black Americans. But don't take my word for it, but I'm telling you that they exist and they're here. Just because they lived quietly or whatever doesn't mean that they are not here. But there are also a large number of Europeans here from many countries in Europe. And as I said, there are also Asians who live here, and they've lived well here. They've never had this backlash that's coming in. What I would say is that it's important to, I don't know, maybe talk to your government officials about this instead of being alarmist and creating hysteria about something that is not worth creating hysteria about. We do not know the Black Americans who are coming to this country. We do not know their networks. We do not know their interests. We do not know who they may know and who may see something worth building in this country that could last generations. Incidentally, there was an American who came to Kenya. I forget his name. And he set up a farm in Nyanza called Dominion Farms, which created employment for the people of Nyanza. But this same kind of talk that we are having with about Black Americans is the same kind of talk that happened with Dominion Farms. And the locals in Nyanza, around where he was based, I can't remember exactly where it was, started talking. And they started all these small complaints. And within no time, Dominion Farms shut down. Did anything replace it? No. Did they get jobs that replaced the jobs they lost from Dominion Farms? No. We really need to stop being myopic as a nation. We really need to embrace change, because it's coming, whether you like it or not. Just figure out how you can plug into it, or at least embrace those who are trying to come and create a better life for themselves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.